Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada ki jai. Iskcon Founder Charge of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishtam, Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantika Vaishnava ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Praise Gaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gandharvika Giridhari, Gopa Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Dham ki jai. New Chaitanya Chandaro Mandir Almvik Sport, Panchatattvas Transcendental Village Project ki jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Marinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Shri Panchatattva ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories. Shri Shri Guru Govinda. All glories. Lotus feet of our Master. Bow down to his lotus feet, great cold reverence. By his grace, my consolation with his suffering, obtain the rest of Krishna. My only wish is that my consciousness purified by words of attachment to the lotus feet. Ecstatic rhythms, destroyed. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, friend and form, Lord and master of the devotees. O master, these humans of love, in the shade of those feet. Defend us against one of the three worlds. Take shelter of those feet. You're the savior of the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right, the special arrangement today is going to be screened here, so Shami thinks that the class that I sit here. Okay, so we'll arrange it. Maybe just a little cushion, a little cushion. That's good, that's good. Mother Earth, O Goddess, you support all the world's beings, and you are sustained by Lord Vishnu. Please give me your support continuously, and provide me with a pure sitting place upon which to sit while worshiping the Lord. I forgot my cartels.
Sorry?
Can you give me a pair of cartels?
I don't know how to start this one.
Oh, you mean Walter. You can write those. Or I mean, what's more possible for that? Yeah. Okay. Let's start with this is what we have first. Okay. So this place. Can you get my Okay, sorry for the delay. Keep you waiting. Jaya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Almvik's Kirtan Mela 2023 Ki Jai, Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So Chaitanya Charitamrita again now during the Kirtan Mela. We had Sandipani Muni Prabhu from Adi Leela and also Bhadra Prabhu yesterday, also from Adi Leela. But now we're hopping up through almost to the end of the Madhya Leela here with a quote from, or a verse, sorry, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 22. It's entitled The Process of Devotional Service. And it's verse number 128. Yeah, so that's Madhya Leela 22, 128, if you want to look it up digitally. And the context is that Lord Chaitanya is we read in the morning in Mangalarti that Prabhupada, he was in the beginning of, already in the fall of 1966, he was delivered 50 lectures on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It wasn't even published yet. Prabhupada was reading from his book, and he described there about the Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, among other things, that was particularly focused there in the by Swatsvarup Maharaj, we read in the Prabhupada Lilamrita. The Rupa and Sanatan, they were very, well-cultured brahmanas, but somehow or other they accepted the ministry of the Mughal government in Bengal, right? The Nawab there, and they even accepted Muslim names, and they were ministers there, and for whatever reason they did that. Maybe it was to protect the Hindus, they did like that, and then they escaped from service by, hook or by crook, especially Sanatan. He had to really do trickery to get out of there because the Nawab was very much depending upon him, and he feigned sickness, but he was just listening to the Bhagavatam, and the Nawab at that time, I think the story goes, if I got it right, correct me if I'm wrong, that he was planning to invade Rajasthan. And, that was just too much for Sanatan. So, he just, and Sanatan was the Nawab was dependent upon Sanatan, that when he goes on this military expedition, that Sanatan would hold down the fort like that. I think that's the story. Anybody know the details? Okay, but I think that's why. So in any case, Sanatan, he got thrown in jail, and then he had, with the help of Rupas, he bribed the jailer, he got out of jail, and with great, endeavor, he got, sickly, sores going through. He had to hide, going through the back roads so that they wouldn't catch him when he was fleeing the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he got to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we read that he had been given a very nice blanket by, when he was just in rags, he looked like a fakir, a Muslim mendicant with a beard and everything. And then they shaved him up, but he had, he was in tattered rags. They wanted to give him new clothes. He wouldn't accept it. They wanted to put him up and feed him daily at a regular place. He would just go and beg alms. But he had this nice blanket that some relative had given him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was kind of giving it his sidelong glance there, Sanatan felt it, So then he went to some poor guy who had an old tattered blanket, had taken a bath, and he said, "I'll tell you what, we'll trade." And the guy said, "What, are you kidding me? That blanket is worth, No, you take it." So, okay, and then he went with the tattered blanket back to Lord Chaitanya, and then Lord Chaitanya said, "Okay, now you're renounced." And then he asked him, he said, they call me a learned scholar. I know Urdu, and I know maybe, Sanskrit, and, Bengali, of course. And then they call me a learned scholar. But, the problem is I don't know why I'm suffering. What am I doing here suffering? Who am I? Please tell me. And then Lord Chaitanya instructed him. And that's this 8th volume of the Madhya Leela. And we've come now to text number 128. Please repeat. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Shradhaya Sevan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Sevan. Next. Mr. Gupta, can you read for us? Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Shradha Savan. Vaishnavis. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtir Shradhaya Sevan. There's some syllables here that were maybe missing, or Bengali experts are kind of looking here. These these new recruits from Sweden, Norway or somewhere, what are they doing? Okay, please repeat. Sadhu Sangha, association with devotees. Nama Kirtana, chanting the holy name. Bhagavata Shravana, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Mathura Vasa, living in Mathura. Shradhaya Sevan, worshipping the deity with faith and veneration. Veneration, that's like a word that hardly appears in our fast-paced information technological society anymore. Veneration. Yeah, venerable. How do you say Shraddha? Sandipani Muni, what's a good synonym for venerable? Worshipable, Honorable, yeah. Okay, translation by His Divine Grace Srila C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, now to Sanatana Goswami, right? Towards the end of a long, quite an elaborate, instructions here. Translation: one should associate with devotees, chant the holy name of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, reside at Mathura, and worship the deity with faith and veneration. So these are the 5 processes, which is at the end of a long list here, which Prabhupada will explain in the next purport. So we'll carry on. I'll try to read the Bengali here. Sakala sadana shrestha e pancha anga Krishna prema janmaye panchera alpasang. Translation: these 5 limbs of devotional service are the best of all. Even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love for Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that there are 35 items up to the point of observing special vows in the month of Kartik. Right, so here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this section of the instructions to Sanatan, he was giving practical devotional service, what to do practically. Later, Sanatana Goswami wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is like a handbook, of rules and regulations for devotional service. So, Bhaktivinoda said that this is up to the point, there were 35 items previously, and one was the special vows in the month of Kartik. For example, Bhadra Prabhu will speak about traversing the 12 forests of Vraja during the month of Kartik by taking a vow, a sankalpa, that you won't do anything else but just pray to the Lord that you can traverse these, be blessed with the tremendous benediction of being able to traverse the koshas. How many koshas? Is Bhadra here? How many koshas around Varaj? Bhadra's not here, huh? Okay. But, it's like, 300 kilometers or something? It's quite a trek, for a whole month, which Bhadra has been doing on barefoot. That's not an easy thing. It's not always sand and soft, And for, how many decades now? Since the end of the 80s, how many years is that? 30 years or something? 30, like that, and he's 72 years old and still going around, So that's a special vow. Okay, carrying on here, Prabhupada. To these 35 items, another 4 are added, namely, marking tilak on different parts of the body, Poundra, writing the names of the Lord all over the body. Maybe somebody has some tattoos they could show us here. Accepting the deity's garland and accepting Charinamrita. Don't forget, we don't do it now after the deity greeting before Guru Puja because there's so many, but don't forget. It says here in one of the principles. These 4 items are understood to be included by Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, within Archana, worship of the deity. Remember, Bhadra Prabhu said yesterday that, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it was explained that actually initiation is not necessary. All you need is the holy name, right? But Prabhupada, following the instructions of Jiva Goswami, he says that 99.9% of us, we have a bodily concept of life. Does anybody disagree? Therefore we need that, second track on the railway, One is the chanting of the holy name and the Bhagavata Vidya preaching and, hearing and so on. And then the other is that it's very, very good to engage our senses. When I come back here to Almvik and, do the deity worship, I there's some, it's like something, I wake up, again. So, deity worship. Prabhupada. Although these items are not mentioned here, they are to be added to the previous 35 items. Thus the total number becomes 39. To these 39, there should be added 5 others. Association with devotees, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, reading Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, residing in Mathura, the birthplace of Krishna, and worshiping the deity with great respect and veneration. The 39 items plus these 5 come to a total of 44. If we add the previous 20 items to these 44, the total number becomes 64. The 5 items mentioned above repeat previously mentioned items. The 5 items mentioned above here repeat previously mentioned items. Okay, so I think Prabhupada is saying that these 5 items here, this is an encapsulation or, a summary or an, overview, an all-inclusive summary of the whole 64 principles, if I understand Prabhupada right here. These 5 mentioned above repeat previously mentioned items, right? I think we're in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Rupa Goswami states, Anganam Panchakasyasya Purva Vilakist. No, this is not Bengali. Wait a minute. Anginam Panchakasyasya Purva Vilikitasya Cha Nikala Shraishya Bodhaya Punar Apyatra Samsanam. The glorification of these 5 items. Association with devotee. Here we go, 3 times for, dog stubborn, Association with devotees. Chanting the holy name, and so on. Okay, we're assumed that we remember the other 3, residing in the Torah, and worshiping the deity, and associating with devotees. To make is to make known the complete superiority of these 5 practices of devotional service. The 64 items of devotional service include all the activities of the body, mind, and senses. Thus, the 64 items engage one in devotional service in all respects. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sanatan Goswami ki jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shishi Panchatattva ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I would like to begin with residing in Mathura. So we were hearing about, Prabhu was telling yesterday about Mathura. And it's more about that today at 12 o'clock, 12:15, I think. And but I now on the cusp, on the dawn, or on the twilight of Srila Prabhupada's 50th anniversary of his one and only visit to Sweden, which is, his life after, was very well documented after he came to the West, So as far as the record goes, we can safely say that Prabhupada Sweden is the northernmost place that Prabhupada ever visited, according to the record, And that means that it's above Moscow, it's above Scotland, it's above Montreal, it's hundreds of kilometers here. So in one sense, it's in a corner of the global Sankirtan map here, of every town and village, which was Prabhupada's mission to include. So when Prabhupada came here and landed in Arlanda and stepped down onto the Swedish soil, then just like Brother Prabhu said yesterday, when the devotees traverse a place, it becomes a tirtha. Tirtha means a place where the river becomes very wide, but that doesn't make it harder to cross. It makes it easier, because you can just go knee deep and walk across to the other side. That's a tirtha. So when Prabhupada put his feet down here, tirtha appeared. And we'll hear more about that from the Jamanalai Prabhu, Smita Krishna Swami, Aristahe, and about 17 others who were here in God bless you, who were here in 1973. There were about 80 devotees here, many Germans, but from many different places. And now there are about 20 of them who have confirmed that they'll come back in just 1 month from today. Yes, exactly 1 month from today. They'll come back here and we'll have the reunion for Srila Prabhupada, and we can hear from them. Please prepare questions also for them. What was it like, when you came to, Krishna consciousness in Sweden in 73? How did you get here? Who sent you here? And what was it, what did Prabhupada do? And how did you experience his physical presence here? And who arranged it? for who arranged Stockholm University's program and who arranged Uppsala. And we want to know all the details, okay? So please prepare your questions, okay? And, I would be very happy if you would send them to me. And we'll make a big list of all the questions we want to hear from these very, very senior Vaishnavas. Like, for example, Bhakti Bhushana Swami. He's coming all the way from Venezuela. Can you imagine? He's the first European devotee, I think you could safely say. Maybe Kulashikar was, but he's practically the first German devotee. And he's now 80, or no, well, 70 something, and he's coming, all this way. So, let's prepare some questions so we're not just standing there with our mouth open when he comes and wondering, oh, where am I? Let's prepare some questions, okay? So let's meditate and think about that. And then we have Akrura Prabhu. He's, Jamanalai's old friend, and he has kindly agreed at the age of, how old? 83 years old. He's going to come with his son, who's maybe 50 or something. So, and others. And there's Mataji, we, with great endeavor, we managed to somehow, by the grace of Krishna, get Mati Mataji, the elephant Mataji, who's, afraid that there might be a monsoon and, she might have to evacuate her elements, but she's, got some substitutes there, and she's going to come, it was like, and Durgama Prabhu, who's been living at Mayapur since 25 years, selling books, and others, so many devotees. So, yeah. So this is a tirtha. That's why they're coming here. They wouldn't come here if it were just some, Swedish holiday. They're not interested in tourism, these experienced devotees. But because Prabhupada has made this country into a tirtha. So I just wanted to say a word or two about a plan here. Sandipani Muni and others like Ramai and Shami, and with the help of Lokanath Prabhu, they have a plan. They want to go to the north, and which is, Sweden is a very oblong tirtha here, The river becomes very wide and shallow, but here, Sweden becomes very oblong, it's to, but, if you can see here, on the right of Sweden is Norway. And this summer, the Finnish devotees, Janardhan, Tima, and Bhakta Chris, they were going on their summer expedition up to the Lapland, where the reindeer country, where, the indigenous people, a long time have been taking care of reindeers, And they went all the way up, Norway goes like this over whole of Scandinavia. So in Finland, they were going up to these villages right on the border of Norway there. Jai, Panchatattva Ki Jai. And he was telling me, Janardhan, that Janardhan was selling books there. And somebody ran out from a store and said, oh, my friend bought a book, I want one also. So, and he said, well, what about, oh, you have more? Yeah, I'll take that one also. I'll take all of them, And then he was saying, well, we have also a whole set of Bhagavatam. I want that also, Somewhere up in the, way up in, North Pole, So they came to me in Haparanda. Can you have a pointer? Give it to Mukunda. He sees better than me. So they came to me in Haparanda, which is right on the border there between Finland and Sweden there. And they told me, they said, we want to have Swedish books, and we want to make an expedition into North Sweden next year. So, for example, the place where, like the devotees have been going way up there for, decades. There's a lot of seeds up there. How many were you up in? Did you ever do Kiruna? Oh yeah, Kiruna. That's just around the, for the Sankirtan devotees. Kiruna. Can you show them Kiruna? It's a mining town. About 125 years ago or so. They discovered iron ore. And they made a town there in the middle of North Pole there. There used to be like a little trading center by the river, but that was called Jukkasjärvi. That was the real place, civilization. But they found the iron ore, inside somewhere in the bush, so they built a city there. Anyway, and Mukunda used to go there all the time with his school programs, and Swapavara. And can you show Karasuando? Mukunda visited one time a school there, at least one time, a school there with, like how many, 4 or 5 kids, like they're in Karasuando, So the Finnish devotees, they want to go there with Swedish books next year, and they're into this expedition on the edge, the borders there. But we have a group of enthusiastic Swedish Sankirtan men who have been really planned this year to go up there with a whole trip, from Stockholm, going through, like Umeå, the main university town in northern Sweden, Umeå there, and then where Lokanath Prabhu is from, just the outskirts of there. And then they'll go up to Luleå, where there's another university. And then they can go to Haparanda. We'll have a stock of books for them. And then up in Kiruna, there's a devotee from an Indian devotee. He's been living there about 20 years now. He's a practical nurse. Now he's just 60 now. And he was in India and as a brahmachari, very simple fellow, just from a village near Vrindavan, near Mathura. And he joined the Krishna Balaram temple and was in the Goshala there for a long time and learned the Bhagavatam verses very well. He knows tons of verses that he still remembers to this day. But there came a Kirana lady who was, on a hippie trip around India and got him and brought him to Kirana, And they have daughters, Ganga and Yamuna, twins. They've been here. And Ganga was here as a 19-year-old recently at a Sunday feast. But anyway, he lives there still, and he loves to cook for devotees. He's a very good cook also. So, and he will sponsor books also. So there'll be a stock of books there also. And aside from that, there's another possibility is that 130 kilometers from Haparanda on the Finnish side is a place called Oulu in Finnish, or Oleobori in Swedish. And there's a vibrant community there of about 100 Indian families who work for Nokia. Yeah, they're, this producing cell phones and everything. And they're all IT experts. And they recruited me, actually. It's like this. This spring, it came to their notice that the Finnish law is that if there's 3 children in a municipality, in a commune, which have a particular religion, then the parents have the right, according to Finnish, school board national law, that they will get the principal to hire a priest for the Christians, or an imam for the Muslims, or a Brahmin for the Hindus, etc. there. So I'm 130 kilometers from there. So they said, why can't you come one day a week to this English-speaking international baccalaureate school where our children need religion? We want our children to keep their there. We want them to, be situated here in Finland and learn the language and everything. That's fine. But we don't want them to forget that, we have a very, very wonderful, rich heritage in India. They cannot. So why don't you come and teach them? And so they applied to the principal. The principal interviewed me over internet, and then they hired me. So I go there once a week, and it's very enlivening. I have first graders who are like, and they learn something, and it takes them 5 minutes to calm down to learn the next thing, And then I have ninth graders who are like very mature and, really know a lot. Sometimes remind me, oh, that was Valmiki you're talking about. Oh, yeah, right, that was Valmiki, stuff like that, So it's very wonderful opportunity now by Prabhupada's mercy. And the Finnish devotees have worked very, very hard for decades to, get this established. And the curriculum for the course which I'm teaching has been written by scholars at the University of Helsinki, right? A didactic. It's not a, confessional religion where I'm supposed to, tell them, praying. No, it's not that. It's instructions according to the, curriculum. But you know who wrote the curriculum? Jayananda. Jayananda and also Brigupad, So, they're scholars, and they were thinking very, like dutifully how to formulate this. And they were thinking, well, the most of the ones, practically all the teachers, except for maybe one, who's a real, Indian-born Hindu, all the rest are, Western converts, like, Finnish converts and me now. So they said, well, we might as well make this, the point, it's a pluralistic Hindu, faithfully academic curriculum. But, we might as well make it from the point of departure of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because, that's the natural, place for the devotees to start from, because that's where the devotees are at. It's very common sense. And so the school board agreed. So, the curriculum is so nice. It's about Bhagavatam and, Lord Chaitanya and, so on. And, the name of the course, it's not Hinduism. You would think of the name of the course, I'm teaching Hinduism, But no, the name of the course is Krishna religion. So I asked them, I said, why do you call it Krishna religion? Isn't that, And they said, well, Jayananda, he explained to me, well, we admit that this is actually a misnomer. It's actually the wrong name. The name of the course is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. That's the name of the course you're teaching. But that's too technical for the average Finn, it'll go in one ear and out the other. So we'll call it Krishna religion, So it's like, anyway, the point of this long digression here, my God, it's 8:45, and we're only on the first point here, that when the devotees come up here then we can also go there, because the parents there, of the 100 families there, there's roughly 20 families whose parents are very pious. They really like to, read Bhagavad Gita. They really like to chant Hare Krishna. They really like to attend Arati. And, they love Janmashtami, etc. And they, respect Prasadam, and, they give donations to Almvik's cows, etc. So we meet once a week there and read from, we've read now, how far? We've read one chapter each week. Once a month we meet. And for now we're on chapter, I think 12 now, or 13 in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So when the devotees come there, we can also go make an excursion into Finland to Oulu and have a program with the parents and the kids and everything. That'll be very nice. All right, that was Mathura, live in Mathura. Now we're going to have to sweep through here. Sangha, the Association of Devotees. We have we have a special indebtedness here in Sweden in terms of the introduction of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, of Krishna consciousness here. Well, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Krishna consciousness is Prabhupada's specific stamp, but say Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we have a man by the name of Walter Eidlitz, Vamandas, who, to make a long story short, Walter Eidlitz was an Austrian Jew, and during, when the Nazis were starting to persecute Jews, he, with great, feeling, he left his wife and young son, Gunther, there in Austria, and he went to India searching for spiritual life. And to make a long story short, he wrote in his book here, some memoir, how he met a guru in the Himalayas who was, it sounds like he's he's writing afterwards from the point of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but he presents him as a Brahmavadi, like certainly not opposed to Krishna consciousness, but not really, 100% devotee. So then, but what happened was, oh yeah, okay, what's his name? You remember? Shri. Yeah, okay. So, the Swedish devotees read this book, a number of them before they came in contact with, Mataji's agreeing, before they came in contact with this guy, because Walter Eidlitz was very, very well spread in the, the 50s and 60s, particularly, and, 70s, just building up okay, long story short. So the war broke out, right? The British Empire, India, was at war with, against the Axis powers, right? So then he got put into not jail, but in an internment camp. He was not a criminal, but he was, a prisoner not a prisoner of war. That's for the soldiers who are fighting. But he was a citizen, in India. So they put him into like a camp there, and they didn't treat them like criminals. No, they treated them very civilly. But it's India. It's a poor country. They didn't have much anyway, the food and so on. He was under trying circumstances. But there was one silver lining on the cloud. Who knows? Oh yeah, here we go. This is Professor Schultz, right? What's his first name? Sadananda, who was a disciple, the disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, a German professor who went to India. He was expert at so many languages, and he went to India, and he got thrown in the internment camp there, separated from Bhaktisiddhanta. And but the blessing for Walter Eidlitz, who was named Vamandas from his Sri Guru, he got immersed in Krishna Bhakti by the blessing of Walter Eidlitz, who was it said aggressive grace. He learned from Bhaktisiddhanta to don't mince words. You tell it as it is. And, he had a special style there. So Walter Eidlitz became enlivened in Krishna consciousness there. But when the war was over, then his wife and son, young son, had fled with the help of the royal family in Sweden. I don't know the whole details, but I heard that from that they were given asylum here in Sweden. So Walter Eidlitz came here, and already in 1948 he wrote this book. The war was over 45, like 46, and so he came here, and tried to get his health back, I guess, and recover from the traumatic experience of being 5 or 6 years in a internment camp. You can just imagine, separated from his family. So he wrote this book, his memoirs, in German. He wrote it. That's his native language, but it was translated here into Swedish. The Glömda Världen, the hidden world, a book about the unknown Indian. Yeah. Yeah. Then, right. So he was blazing a trail. Actually, we're indebted to him. He was blazing the trail for and so what all happened in the 50s is kind of not well known. What his history there, but in the 60s also. But in 68, we know a major thing that happened, and that is that Stockholm University published for him the first big book, the first major book in a European language about Lord Chaitanya. It's called Lord Chaitanya, Indian's Hidden Treasure, His Life and His Teachings by Walter Eidlitz. It was written in German. This is a Swedish translation here. In 1968. And so this is a major step in the right direction where, the Stockholm University, Sweden, the bastion of secularity, where people have religion as a private matter, we're modern. But still, Sweden is also very, very deeply based in Christianity, particularly in the last 500 years in Lutheranism. It's very deeply ingrained. Most of the Swedish devotees' grandparents or their parents, they know Luther's catechism by heart. They knew it, so on. So Sweden is kind of like ambivalent there. We're not religious, but at the same time, it's the Mecca for Lutheranism. So in this, he did this wonderful service, and he sent it to Prabhupada. 68, Prabhupada was in Montreal, just getting started. He was waiting for his green card to get, residence permit. He was thinking at that time, maybe I'll just start the movement from Canada, because he was having a hard time. He was, he came on a 1-month visa, extending, and then they said stop. So he had to go to Canada, with the help of a lawyer. And thanks be to Lyndon Johnson, he repealed the Oriental Exclusion Act. Let's not get into details, but Prabhupada, got his green card. But he got this book from Walter Eidlitz, and he became very enlivened. He knew that this was connected to Sadhananda, and Sadhananda was Prabhupada had an affectionate relationship with Sadhananda. Sadhananda was very kind to Prabhupada's children, as the story goes. So, Prabhupada knew that Sadhananda was a very learned and very warm, soft-hearted Vaishnava, and that he was behind this book. And Prabhupada he didn't read it in German, he didn't, but he just said, this book is bona fide. And he thought, Sweden, yes, Stockholm University, publishing the first book, and Prabhupada is, starting to think, favorable ground, Sweden, took notice here. And then, yeah, you like that. So, oh, yeah. Let's hear it. What's it? Can you read it? Ah, yes. Yes. All right. Now, it's 5 minutes to 9 now. So, I'm sorry, we have to stop here. But there's a very important sequel to this called Torbjörn Fjellstrom, Nitai Das, who is, the prime follower of Walter Eidlitz. And he was the one who, as on the faculty of Stockholm University in 1973, was approached by the Swedish devotees of Jivan Bhagavan, who begged him to please arrange that Srila Prabhupada could speak in the prestigious, newly built Söderhusen on Frescati campus in the Stockholm University, which is a big risk for, a young, pedagogic, teacher at the faculty. And so he can, anyway, the story becomes too much now. It's 5 minutes. Any questions here? I would love to tell this story because Torbjörn Fjellstrom is we're so indebted to him now. We now by the hard work of Ajit Prabhu and especially Pranava Prabhu, who have worked themselves with blood, sweat, and tears into the hierarchy here. So now the Riksbanken has, their Forskningsfond has given a large grant to make a workshop on the 6th of September called Bhakti Vedanta in a historical and philosophical context, with the purpose that we're now going to have conversations between the international experts in a particular branch of Indian religion, which is very well known in India, but has little studied in the academic West. So, this is extremely important development, of international importance. That's something which Bhakti Siddhanta and Bhakti Vinod Thakur had envisioned hundreds of years ago when he sent his book to the McGill University. And now, thanks be to Walter Eidlitz, thanks be to Torbjörn Fjellstrom, Nitai Das, who actually went against the, Walter Eidlitz, Walter Eidlitz, he was doubtful about Prabhupada's methodology of going out on the street and presenting Harinam Sankirtan with Westerners and shaved heads and dhotis and tilak and, loudspeakers and, everything, that the devotees were doing there. He thought that he was afraid, actually, because, he had very humbly started already 2 decades before with a different strategy of keeping it very, very carefully, relating it to people who were ready for it, in a context, and, confiding in them carefully so that their bhakti would bloom without any offenses. And then when Prabhupada just came with, full blast preaching, he was hesitant. He was afraid, I think, that this would be counterproductive for people in general if they see, well, who are these, brainwashed sect fanatics here, Krishna, Krishna, Ocean. He thought this would be counterproductive for people in general. That was his fear. But in any case, make a long story short, now there's 1 minute left. Torbjörn Fjellstrom was on the faculty. The devotees, a Swedish gentleman, young, and the devotees asked him, Ajit asked him, please, can you arrange that Prabhupada would speak? So he said, well, I'll think about it. And then he went to Walter Eidlitz and he said, well, what do you think of this idea? Bhaktivedanta Swami, he's God brother of Sadhananda. He's come now and he has all these Western followers. Well, why shouldn't, we cooperate? And Walter Eidlitz was reserved. And then, thank God, Nitai Das, he said to him, men, vi jobbar I samma fabrik, he said to him, He said, but we work in the same factory. Yeah. And then Walter Eidlitz just kind of laughed and then he knew that Nitai was going to stick his neck out and he was going to get in trouble for it, which he did. But, thank God, Torbjörn, he had the wherewithal to, the friendly attitude to Prabhupada. He said, well, I take matters into my own hands. I'm going to do it. So he called up the university and he arranged for the biggest hall, 300 seats. 300 seats there. And, okay, we owe him a great thanks.
Mr. Torbjorn Fjellstrom. He's now 86 years old, and he's, so we didn't get to deity worship or, Harinam and so on. But in any case, I said something. But now it's 9 o'clock and time for breakfast. So thank you very much for your attention. Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Almvik scored Kirtan Mela 2023 Ki Jai. Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.